Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary, and today I have for you not a normal video. This is not going to be a pick a card. I was going to do a pick a card for 2021. And I will explain why I haven't filmed that yet in a minute. But this is going to be an ASMR kind of just message that I want to share right now. So, I don't know, just to set the vibe, because I feel weird if I'm not doing anything. We'll light some Palo Santo real quick. Just to cleanse the space. Okay, there's like a lot of air conditioning blowing this right now, so there you go. So we'll just have some ASMR smoke that already burned out. And just try it again. Please cleanse this space and protect these messages that I want to share. Cleanse my own energy. I hope you can see the smoke. Okay. So, the reason that I'm making this video is because I haven't been doing so well. I'll just say that. I feel like this time of year is very difficult, especially this particular year. We're kind of in a bit of a liminal space, I feel like, in between the solstice and the new year, 2021, and there's a lot of really heavy, intense energies going on in the collective, at least what I've picked up on from what I've seen from my friends. Everyone seems to be just like not knowing what's going on right now and just feeling very unstable in this weird liminal space after Christmas and before New Year's. It's always weird. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but so yeah, I have been very reflective and very melancholy, I guess. You know, I am very prone to bouts of depression, and I've kind of swung into one these past few days, pretty much since the solstice started. And I've just been in a very low place these past couple days. Hope you don't mind, I'm trying to do like ASMR movements. I don't know. This is satisfying, but I don't know. I like it when people do this, so I'm going to keep doing it. Plus it makes me feel less awkward about just talking. So, anyway, I've been in a very low place these past few days, kind of up and down, but the downs have been like really, really down. horrible, horrible. And I feel like I've just kind of had a moment, like a small little nugget of clarity that I just kind of want to share. With you all. I've been kind of like not wanting to do, because I said I was going to do a pick a card for 2021, and honestly, even when I said I was going to do it, I didn't really know why I was saying I was going to do it, because I was like, I don't, that's like usually not the type of video I want to do. I don't try to predict the future, like that's not usually what I even am interested in. I want to focus on like what's going on with you now, and like how is it influenced by the past, and maybe what could happen in the future. But I don't like to think of the future as, you know, something we have to like prepare for as if it's already been decided on, which I guess in some ways it has, but it still feels kind of disempowering to me to have that mindset. So I'm still not sure if I'll do that video. I think I might do something a little bit different, but I don't know. I was just contemplating things. I'm gonna just be doing things while I'm talking, because I don't know, I just feel like it. I'm gonna spray some essential oil mist in here. I watched this movie recently that really kind of like messed me up. It's on Netflix. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things. God. It like, I don't think any movie has disturbed me more. I think it was kind of a genius movie. Like, I think it was brilliantly executed, but I will never watch it again because it was so, like, it messed up my mind so much, and I honestly, like, it's kind of silly, I guess, to think that a movie can, like, send you into such a downward spiral, but I don't know, sometimes things like that just can be really triggering, I guess. Especially, like, because it plays a lot with this idea of, like, it's very surreal, and it kind of breaks your idea of reality multiple times. It almost it gaslights you, like, you know, those kind of movies that like make you think one thing is true and then another thing is true, and then you feel crazy. Like that's how you will feel watching that movie. And it just has so much, I don't know, there's just like, it was very deep and like profound, but in a way where it was like depressing, like it wasn't uplifting in any way, and it just kind of left me feeling like, I don't know, deeply disturbed. And I don't know, like there was, I'm not going to remember the quotes, but you know, there was this idea of, you know, people saying that things get better, but they don't actually get better. Of course, that was said in a much more profound way that I'm not going to be able to remember, but, you know, something along those lines of, like, nothing gets better, like, very depressing. But, like, the way it was said was kind of, like, it had this weight to it that felt very true and very, like, human, if that makes sense. And I don't know, I guess, like I said, I've been very down today and like this week, but I feel like a moment of clarity that I just had was, came when I was listening to this song. Oh god, I don't remember the name of it. I like just found it, but I might put a link in the description. I might even put a link to a playlist that I made in the description, because I just put together a bunch of random songs that I felt like would help me with this time of year, which very much feels like liminal space to me. But anyway, yeah, there's a couple of songs that I just listened to, and kind of just realized that it might not necessarily be about things getting better. It's like, why do we need things to get better? Why can't we just do things anyway? Like, it might sound kind of weird, but like, to expect something to get better is to be, or to, be desperately wanting things to get better is to kind of be in resistance to what is. And as long as you are living with the intent of getting better or making things better, there's always going to be that doubt in your mind, that fear of disappointment. But what if we just like gave up trying to be better, or trying to get better, or trying to feel better, or trying to make anything better, and we were just like, okay, what if everything was always just as bad as it is right now? I can stay here and just sit in this and do nothing, or I can do something different, and not with the expectation that things will get better, but just to see what will happen if you do something different. That's like, maybe the feeling won't necessarily go away, but every moment is different from the last moment that you've lived, and every experience is different from the last experience. Like, maybe I've sat in this same spot before, but I haven't sat in this same spot before and said these same words in this same order with these same things around me, and maybe I haven't moved my hand in this exact way before, and maybe I haven't moved my head in this exact pattern before, and maybe we can't change the feeling, but we can still change the way that we experience it. Do you know what I mean? And there's a kind of freedom in that. It's like you can do anything. Like, sometimes you just kind of need that realization to set in, that you can just do anything. That you can get up and walk out of your house and keep walking. You can get in a car and drive to the beach, or drive to a new city. You can walk down a street you haven't walked down before. You can talk to someone you haven't talked to before. And if we can get rid of the expectation that doing this is going to make us better or get rid of some feeling inside of us, and instead just do it to see what happens. Do it because there's nothing else to do but explore. And there's strange sort of freedom in that. So, anyway, I just wanted to share that message and also talk a little bit more about just some personal just share a bit more about my personal experiences, I guess. This year has been crazy, intense, and honestly quite awful for me. I don't want to sugarcoat it, It hasn't been the best. There were some good times, for sure, and I don't want to pretend like there weren't. But mentally and emotionally, I think it was probably the hardest year that I've ever gone through. There were a lot of things happening in the collective, and I think I was impacted by all of those, but it's almost like it doesn't matter where it comes from, like if I'm just feeling the collective pain or if it's just my pain, it's still pain. And I'm still going to process it the same. But it's been a very hard year for me. It started out pretty positive, actually. The beginning of the year, I was actually the leader of a service trip with my school, and I led a group of people that I became pretty good friends with, and we went on a trip to serve LGBT homeless youth in Atlanta, Georgia. That was an awesome experience, and that was probably the highlight of my year. And it was in January, so that says a lot about how the year went for me. It kind of went downhill after January. But yeah, I mean, once Corona hit, I think we were all impacted in many different ways. I know that for me it was really hard. I moved back in with my parents for a time. I was going to college. I'm in my senior year, about to have my last semester. But at the beginning of this year, I was at the second semester of my junior year. And, living in my apartment in my college town, and when the virus hit, I didn't want to be all alone and didn't know where to go, so I moved back home for a time, and it was really hard just not having the same structure and social support that I had gotten used to, because I had also had a very difficult year mentally in 2019. I could go into my whole life story, but I'm going to try not to, because I don't want this to be that. But basically I had a very intense, dark night of the soul kind of mental health breakdown in 2019, and then I was trying to rebuild my life from that point and find some sort of structure and confidence and hope for the future, and then I feel like it all crashed down when Corona hit, because all of that structure was gone, and And yeah, and then I just had to deal with a lot of very intense emotions and experiences. And I think I'll probably make another video soon about, like, I want to do, like, things I wish people had told me, like, when I first started healing or whatever, because I think there's a lot that I wish I had been told, because I've been on this path of healing for a couple of years now, and, you know, there's a lot of times when we're trying to heal that we can actually do more damage to ourselves if we're not really aware of what we're doing and how to care for ourselves. And so I basically kind of got myself into this, like, emotional overload where I was trying to heal too much at one time, and my body could not physically handle it. And I just experienced, like, the most profound loneliness that I've ever felt. And it was very, very, very painful. And it took months to kind of process through that and be able to kind of get a life together again in the fall. But it was still difficult, and I was still, like, an emotional mess, like, so unstable, like, you don't even know, and part of me kind of feels like maybe I shouldn't be saying all of this, like, I don't know, because I'm making these videos where I'm trying to, like, give people guidance and insight, and how the hell can I do that if I'm an emotionally unstable mess? But I think that's the lie that we have to break, is this idea that people who are here to heal and to help guide are, like, more put together than everyone else. Because I can tell you that is not true. And the people who feel the most desire to help heal and guide are probably the people who suffer the most and who struggle the most. Because we're trying to figure it out for ourselves, and every little moment of clarity we get, we're like, I need to share this with everyone. And maybe it does, it helps. But it's still a journey, and it's still difficult. But I kind of wanted to share something that I wrote recently. I wish I had more things to, like, tap on. I don't really have anything. I'll do this. I found this website recently. I'll post the link down below. It's called, like, Anonymous Letters, something. I don't remember the title, like, the exact URL, but it's basically this website where people can write anonymous letters and post them on the site for anyone to read. And I thought it was kind of a brilliant idea, to kind of be able to say things and get them off your chest and know that they will be read by someone, but without having that, like, pressure of, like, when and who and how, and, like, because I think a lot of times, at least for me, it's like if I have something very, sacred or important to me that I want to share, if I post it on, like, social media or something, it feels very unsafe and, like, unstable, because then I'm, like, obsessively checking to see who read it and who responded to it, and it's like, it's very vulnerable. It's not the same as, like, if you're writing a letter directly to a single person, because you have more trust that that person is going to, like, caretake whatever you say and really listen to it and respond to it, and it's not the same, with social media. People can just glance over something and barely pay any attention to it, and if it's something that's really important to you, that hurts. If it's like this very important part of yourself and people just scroll past it, like, oh, it's so painful. And so I kind of liked the idea of writing something knowing that I'm not gonna be able to know who sees it. No one's gonna be able to respond to it, so I don't have to worry about like any comments. I can just know that it's like a gift sent out into the universe, and maybe someone will read it and maybe they will understand what I'm saying, and maybe it will resonate with them. So I wrote one and I submitted it, and I don't think it's been posted yet. I don't know. I haven't checked. But I realized that while I still like the idea of it being anonymous, I also have this need to have intimacy with my art. That might sound really weird, so I'll explain what I mean in a second, but I don't know if anyone can relate to this experience of being someone who expresses themselves in a very creative way, any kind of artist, whether you paint or you draw or you write or you sing or you play music or whatever you do. I mean, there's so many different kinds of art. When I use the word art, I am not just talking about visual art. I see everything as art, really, but things that we intentionally express ourselves through a creative medium. People who identify as artists in that way, there's a certain kind of intimacy that can only be met through us understanding and others understanding our art and the things that we create. Because it's not just something that we're creating. It's like a part of us, it's like the way that we understand ourselves is through this thing that we've created. And another little insight that I just had tonight, I was doing this meditation for what should I be creating right now? It was a guided meditation, and I had this realization that all of my creations are essentially like these living beings, and it's like sort of like they're my children and I'm their mother, and that might sound kind of strange, but I don't know, it just really resonates with me, and it really makes sense to me because we're all creations of something, whether you want to call that God or the universe or nature. We're creations of something. And what we want so desperately is for that something to know us. We want to be known by other creations. And so I had this realization that if I am a creation of something and I want to be known, then my creations probably also want to be known. And kind of having this perspective of art as a living thing. I mean, we could get into a philosophical conversation about how everything has consciousness, so everything is kind of alive or has a living quality in a way. But I don't really want to go down too far down that rabbit hole. But even if you just want to think of it in a metaphorical sense, your creations are a part of you, and they are like children that you give birth to, and they kind of have a life of their own. And I realized that even though I've been desperately wanting for my creations to be seen and to be known, I haven't really been taking the time to get to be intimate with them myself. You know, like how often, if you're an artist, how often do you really just sit and like admire your own art? How often do you really try to be intimate with your own creations? Like really try to get to know that creation as if it's something that you haven't even seen before. I don't know, it's just kind of like a novel concept to me, and it kind of inspired me because I have this fear of, what if I just create and create and create, but none of it ever gets seen by anyone and no one ever cares about it? And then I thought to myself, well, what if a mother gave birth to children and she was afraid that no one else would care about them? Does that mean that she would stop caring about them? No, that doesn't make sense, right? She would try to protect them, and she would try to do the best that she can to give them the things that they are wanting. If that's being seen, then she would try to help them be seen. And if people were critical of them, then she would protect her children from their criticism and tell them that it doesn't matter what they say because they're still beautiful and perfect in their own way. So I don't know, that just changed my perspective a lot on things, because we have sometimes this fear of sharing what we create, because what if people don't see intimately into that part of us that is that creation, because it is a part of you, you know? And you know, it's like that fear of people not getting it, like and really it's that need for intimacy, that need to be known. And so I realized that I had that need, and that posting something on an anonymous site might not be the best way to get it. So, with that being said, I'm going to read this letter that I wrote. Kind of with the intention of just getting it out and processing what this year has felt like for me. And so I'm going to read it, and I'm going to ask that if you're watching this, and if you feel open to it, that you think of this as a living being that you're trying to get to know. This letter that I wrote, I want you to think of it like this is my child that I'm presenting to you, and that child is wanting to be known. And really it's me wanting to be known, but it's in the form of this this thing that I've created. And this isn't like, I'm not trying to make this like this isn't a poem, this isn't a short story, this isn't anything that I'm trying to like make famous because I think it's so magnificent. It's just a little piece of my truth and my story that wants to be seen. And the only way I know how to let it be seen is to write it in a creative way, in the form of a letter, and to let the words kind of speak for themselves, I guess. Like, instead of sitting here and breaking down in front of you, because I don't want to, make either of us uncomfortable in that way. Maybe you can still feel the emotional truth that I want to be seen in the world through this creative thing, this little exercise, journal entry, you could even call it. Letter to the world. Okay. And if this inspires you to write your own letter, then please do. And honestly, I don't know if anyone would want to do this, but this idea is coming to me, so if you have some kind of truth about this year that you just really want someone to see and someone to know, I encourage you to write it out. And if you want to post it in the comments below, I will guarantee you that I will read that and I will feel into that and really take the time to get to know that truth, that part of you. Because I think that it's something that we could all do a little bit more. So if that feels like something you want to do, please feel free to do it. Okay. Here we go. Dear the world. Hello. Sorry, okay. I'm gonna start over. I'm reading off my computer, by the way, so. Dear the world. Hello. It's been a while since you heard from me. You remember me, right? At one point, we all used to be one thing. At least that's what I've been believing for a while. Sometimes I fear it's too good to be true. If we were all part of the same thing, why did you let me slip through your cracks? I felt it yesterday. I was dancing ecstatically to release emotion, a ritual to honor the solstice and the alleged new age, and the anger that came out as my feet stomped and my arms thrashed eventually melted into despair. Familiar, but difficult to stay in, like trying to swim in a pool I've drowned in before, many times. I felt like I was falling, like there were hands that were supposed to be holding me up and I slipped right through their fingers like water. Dropped, forgotten, left to wander alone in the emptiness of existence. How did this happen? And why? And when? How did the sunshine, ice cream cone days of my childhood turn into this dark and crumbling mess of adulthood? On the surface, smiling and getting by, posting assignments and posing for Snapchats, while inside, I'm grasping desperately for anything to hold on to. Losing reality and my mind and everything in between. How could you let me fall so far? How could you have let me fall so far and for so long? So many days and so many nights I laid there, frozen, unraveling bit by bit, by bit, by bit, until I was just a single thread held against a pair of scissors. I couldn't seem to put them down. I can't deny that I felt the temptation to cut myself free from existence. I'm not sure why I didn't. Perhaps because I wasn't entirely convinced I could anyway. Who knows what awaits on the other side of that snip? But then again, maybe that last thread was cut. Maybe that's the reason I'm still here. Maybe I'm not the thread after all. How to come back to a life that betrayed you. To a life that once promised you things, like a future filled with sunny days and intimate nights, that you believed in so innocently, only to be woken up cruelly into a hellish reality that threatened everything you once held sacred. And the worst part is that somehow you believe it was your own making. And somehow you know on some level you're right. But that's not the whole story, is it? What was the first cause that led to the first effect that eventually led to the hands that ripped their own seams apart? Who was to blame for the loss of your innocence and the loss of the innocence of the one who took yours? Where does the story start? It starts with you, world. Too far back to remember. At one point, we all used to be one thing. Until the first thought of separation split us apart. You might not think you know, but you do. Promise me you'll try to remember. Because I don't know if I can stop myself from falling again. Will you catch me this time? From what you lost. That was a letter that I wrote the day after the solstice. And I was feeling very sad, melancholy, just trying to understand how to come back from this year that really did feel like it tore me apart emotionally in so many ways. And I just needed that little bit of truth to be out there. And I wanted to leave you with the message that you are as free as you choose to be. And that even if things don't get better, there's always a way to do things differently. And maybe your freedom comes not from getting over the pain, but from loving it. Not because it can be something else, but because what other choice do you have, really? So I hope that this video brought you maybe some glimpse of insight. And I hope that the rest of this year is softened in your mind. That you can process these things at your own pace. And maybe I will still do a pick a card for 2021. We'll see. I would like to, but it's probably going to be after the new year. After New Year's Day. Just because I just don't have the time or energy to do that right now, just because I'm processing all of my own stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to also be authentic and say, even though I have all of this knowledge and guidance and all of these things where I've been doing this for a while, I have the tools, I know what to do. You can have the answers and still be hurting. Because sometimes it's not the answers that we need. It's not that cerebral explanation that we need to get us through pain. It's just the willingness to be with it, or the willingness to do something with it. Not to get over it necessarily, but to do something with it, like moving forward with it, going about your day. Not to get away from it, but to give it a new experience. Just a slightly different way of thinking of things, but it can make a big difference. But yeah, it's not the answers that will save you. It's the willingness to make the choice over and over and over again to be free. And that's the message I want to leave you with. So I hope you have a good night.